Hello everyone, welcome to Kabbalah Explained Simply. I'm very happy to be here. It's been a while since I've been here, and I was really looking forward to talk to you, especially about today's topic, which is why am I never satisfied with my life? This is probably the central topic in the wisdom of Kabbalah. If you're new to Kabbalah, if you've never heard of it before, you just kind of heard the name Kabbalah and you're wondering what it's about, today's lesson is going to be great because it's really going to give you like this entry point, this gateway into what this wisdom is all about and how it relates precisely to that question that you're having. Why am I never satisfied with my life? Why can't Google answer my question? Why can't I just ask someone and they'll have the answer? Well, the bad news, as it were, is that everybody is looking for the way to be satisfied with life. The good news is that there is an answer, and Kabbalists have found that answer. So before we start, I just want to make sure that you're hearing me well on all the platforms, on Facebook, on YouTube. I am hoping that it's working on Facebook. I don't know. I think we are good. Just tell me in the chat that you can hear me. We have our support team in the chat ready to help you out, answer questions, where to go for additional material, links. There's also going to be a special Zoom after where we're going to be a bit more intimate together and you'll be able to ask more questions. So by all means, stay if you can. It's going to be a great ride. So why am I never satisfied with my life? That's a question that I didn't have that question exactly. I had slightly different questions, but I can see already from people who are alive today, from speaking to younger people perhaps, but also some of the older people who sort of have done it all in a way, right? You had they went to school, they got married, they started a family, they have a job, a career, and maybe you're asking yourself, okay, what's next? Why getting more of what I have is not enough? And the same sort of question could be plaguing someone younger. Maybe you're just out of college and you kind of went on autopilot. You went from high school to college because that's what everybody was doing. If you could afford it, maybe if you couldn't afford it, you just went straight to work. And one day, not long after, you're asking yourself, why am I not as satisfied as I thought I'd be? Maybe you have a great job, a dream job, and you're really happy, and that's great. Maybe you're in a great relationship, and it's great. Maybe you're happy with the amount of money you have and your love interests. Maybe all that stuff is great for you. You can still listen to this lesson and learn something. But if you're not sure where it's going, if you're not sure if getting more of what you have is going to give you that sense of satisfaction, if getting more stuff or getting more money or better sex or better love life, if that in itself is not going to give you that sense of fulfillment, of completion, then maybe this lesson is for you. So I hope we're going to be able to answer most of your questions. Send your questions in the chat. As I said, we're going to have a special Zoom afterwards. So let's start to get into that question. So what's preventing you from being satisfied? All right, see that little cage we've done there. Right, so what is that? Take a second to really think about that question, because I can rattle on for hours and I may still miss the reason why you are not satisfied. I'm not asking this as a therapist or as a coach. I'm asking as a concerned friend, a fellow human being. We should be able to be happy and satisfied. Why am I not satisfied? Why is this question the number one or one of the top ranking questions on Google today? Why are so many people not satisfied when seemingly we have every reason to be satisfied, to be happy? So take a second, a minute even, 30 seconds, and think what's preventing you from being satisfied. Just think about it. And now ask yourself, what would make you satisfied? Just think about that question as well, okay? So you figure out maybe what's not giving you the satisfaction. Maybe the reverse of that question is the answer to this question, or maybe there's something else. Maybe there's another matter that's preventing you from achieving satisfaction. So let's make it a little easier. What will make you satisfied right now? So right now, at this moment, from this lesson, where you are sitting at home, hopefully at home or in your car, listening to me, talking to you about what would make you satisfied. So what would make you satisfied? Is it something about the material, the content of the lesson, the way I will explain to you why you're not being satisfied, the answer itself, maybe what you're going to hear after you've heard the answer, maybe something you have to do, maybe that will make you satisfied, give you a sense of purpose. Maybe it's something else. Maybe that you'll find that the answer to your satisfaction lies elsewhere. Maybe that will make you satisfied. Or maybe you'll hear that it's in exactly where you are. Will that make you satisfied? Is it about getting another blanket around you, or cranking the AC higher, or getting a nice ice cream to go with this lesson? What would make you satisfied right now? Think about it. Feel free to write it in the chat as well. And then, what would make you satisfied in a month? Okay, so we took care of today, right now. Maybe you can even look ahead and kind of project the next few days, this week. What would make you satisfied in a month? Think about that. Are you even able to portray that? Or maybe the problem is not that you don't know how to get it. It's that there's a cloud over it. Maybe you're not sure what is the real cause of your dissatisfaction with things. That's okay too. Just notice it. Don't do anything with it. Just notice what would make you satisfied in a month. Okay, if that exercise wasn't enough, what would make you satisfied in 5 years? So let's say you figured out, you know what would make you satisfied in a month. You kind of have that planned, right? In a month, I'll be able to, get a raise, date someone, dump my current boyfriend, girlfriend, find someone else, make a big shift in life, move out, move into, go on a trip, learn something new, graduate from somewhere. I don't know, someone will make you an offer you can't refuse, invite you to work for an exciting new startup. You'll get to solve world hunger. I don't know. What would make you satisfied in 5 years? Yes, asking, by the way, someone I'm seeing in the chat, people are asking Bing AI and all. You can ask the AI as much as you want. I'm giving you a clue, they won't have the answer because they're made by the same dissatisfied people as you are, as all of us. We're all trying to figure it out. So you think you're just going to feed everything that we've done and accomplished into a machine and it's going to spit out something better? Not so quickly, unfortunately. Let's stick with the plan. So what would make you satisfied in 5 years? Okay, you're thinking about it. That's good. Just as I said, observe it. The question is, why am I never satisfied with my life? Right? And again, life is a big thing. I'm not saying everyone here watching is dissatisfied with their life completely. Maybe you have some aspect of life that are really great. Maybe you have a great family, great parents, great relationship with your mom or dad, a pet that you like. Maybe you have like a little corner on this planet and it's set up exactly as you like it. And you're you have your car and you can go anywhere you want, or maybe you don't have financial concerns, or maybe you have no money and that's even a relief, right? You have nothing to worry about. Whatever it is, maybe there are aspects that are working, but still, if you're watching this, you're probably curious about this whole point of being satisfied with life. Do we need to be satisfied with life? Probably, maybe, because I have a feeling that I should be satisfied. Maybe I have a memory of being satisfied with something, and now I'm not as satisfied with it. Maybe ordering the same cup of coffee was giving me great pleasure for many years, and now suddenly the taste is not as great. I gotta change something. Maybe I'll go single origin. Maybe I'll add milk. Maybe I'll substitute the milk. Maybe I'll take out the milk completely. Maybe I'll throw in some caramel. Maybe I'll make it iced. Maybe, all those little options that would somehow add another layer of joy to this coffee. And maybe it's the same ritual that you're now engaged with in every other area of life, whatever that may be for you. But I'm saying to you that in order to understand why I'm never satisfied with my life, we need to maybe take it apart, deconstruct it a little bit. And we're going to do it by looking at this sentence, right? So why am I never satisfied with my life? I need to understand, what is this I that we're talking about? Who is asking these questions? What is it? Where does it come from? What does it want? Okay. Then satisfied. Okay, what is the meaning of being satisfied? Is there a mechanism for being satisfied? Perhaps, maybe if I knew what satisfaction means, what true satisfaction means, what maybe endless satisfaction, if there is such a thing, maybe then I'll be able to pursue it. Maybe the concept of satisfaction that I was raised on is not the end-all be-all of pleasure and satisfaction. And lastly, why am I never satisfied with my life? So life is a big thing. I need to know, what is life all about? What is this life in which I exist? So I have this, 3 big questions, and we don't have a lot of time, so I'm going to try to run through it as best I can. I'm already telling you that it's not going to answer every little detail, but I'm going to try to give you the big picture of things. And obviously, if you have questions, that would help as well. So moving in. So life, satisfied, these are the areas we're going to touch on. We'll try to do it I'm going to try to give 10 minutes to each one, okay? So help me out here. So we'll start with the I, okay? What is the I? Who am I that is even asking these questions? Am I some sort of a brain asking these questions? Am I the physical body asking these questions? Who is this I that is really asking these questions? That I can say with certainty, with confidence, that this I is the one who's deciding, who's choosing, who's going after the pleasure, and can actually get me satisfied. Can I satisfy myself? And I'm not talking about small moments of satisfaction, right? Like a good meal or a good sexual pleasure or a good. These we know are not everlasting. So, what is it, perhaps that I'm lacking? So, is there a way to understand who is I? So without getting too much into it, we have an entire field in the wisdom of Kabbalah called the perception of reality. Okay, it's a subfield of all of the wisdom of Kabbalah, and perception of reality basically deals with the big question of reality, which is, who is this I that's perceiving life and reality? What is being perceived, and in what way? And those are big questions, and we can't say much about it. Science can say some things about it, but if you really kind of peel the surface, you'll see that science is also extremely limited in how it understands who is the I that is asking these questions and making these scrutinies. What is this reality that we see? Are we in it, outside of it? And can we really understand what's going on with it? All we have to go by is our 5 senses and our thinking faculty. And we really squeezed the lemon on that out of that thinking faculty. And mankind has done amazing things, but for all its mental capacity, we're still lagging behind some of the fundamental processes of life, right? Like how life actually comes to be, the development of life. We can replicate some things, we can sort of copy paste from nature, but we can't really claim to have control over that. How does the brain work? Today, more than ever, scientists agree that they know less about the brain than they agreed they know about 20, 30, 40 years ago. So the more we advance, the more we realize that we don't know that much. We just know that we have a certain box, and we're trapped inside this box, and we're subject to all this data, the stimulation that comes from seemingly outside. I can't even be certain of that. And that gives me a certain picture of the world. And I have I have these limited senses to work with. But behind these senses, the motivating force is that there is something inside of me that demands this kind of interaction with the world, right? That uses these senses to a certain end. To what end? That is a very big question, and that I hope we can answer or try to answer. So I'm going to go back. I'm clicking through a bunch of slides, so bear with me, and we're going to go back, and I'm going to take you through a little visual roller coaster, and it's really just I just want to make a disclaimer that none of the images that you're going to see are going to actually represent anything spiritual. Okay, so don't think that we're looking at a spiritual picture or a picture of something spiritual. They're simply here to satisfy our natural desire for some form to hold on to. Okay, so it's really just a tool, okay, an instrument that we're using. So let's rewind to understand who we are. It all starts with infinite potential. Okay, that's as far as we can go, as far as Kabbalists who actually attained that field of potential are able to tell us about. Okay, so imagine this field of potential. How would you imagine it? I don't know. This is how I imagined it this morning. Okay, you could probably find many different ways of talking about it, describing it. You'll see it in films. Maybe it's all white. Maybe it's all color. Maybe it's changing. It doesn't matter. It's a field of potential. Okay, that's what Kabbalists say exists in behind everything, beyond everything, and that's a quality that they can attain, that they can actually feel. And they call that quality the will to bestow. Okay, so that the totality of this field of potential has a will, a desire, if you will. Okay, we're using our language here, so it is limited, but it had a propensity, a direction to be able to pass on this infinite goodness, abundance, potential to something. But since it fills everything, it wasn't able to do a good job at doing that. So it's not like it was suffering. We can't say that about this quality. Kabbalists call it the creator. Okay, Boreh in Hebrew, from the word bo'u, come and see, meaning it's something you can attain. It's not going to come to you, but you're going to have to come and see it. You have to attain it somehow. We'll talk about how to do it. But this quality wanted to bestow, wanted to give all this abundance, this pleasure. Okay, it's formless pleasure. We're not talking about a great film or a great love life or a great job or world peace or any of those very limited concepts that we're dealing with. We're talking about abstract form that's not clothed in matter. Okay, and it needed to create something so it can give it all this goodness. So it created the only thing that it could create, which is the opposite of it, okay, which is the desire to receive. So if you're a desire to bestow, if you're a desire to give, you want to give all this goodness, abundance, formless abundance for now, you needed something to receive it. So that's what was created, something that's opposite, something that can receive, an empty place. That's the beginning of this whole business, okay, an emptiness. And into this emptiness, it started to the light, okay, which is what Kabbalists call this, the impression of this will to bestow, as it's received in that quality that was created. We call it a vessel. So the light was starting to work on this empty place, on this container, on this vessel. It started to work on it, and this relationship between the light and the vessel gives birth to what we call 4 phases of direct light. So maybe some words, some names that you've heard before. Keter, Chochmah, Binah, Zeir Anpin, Malchut. Those are, we're not going to get too deep into those names in this lesson, we just don't have time. But there's a process here of developing a relationship between this quality that wants to give, the will to bestow, the creator, the light, and a container that can receive it, the vessel. It's not a complete desire yet when we start to do it. It's a vessel. So let's go just in brief to this drawing here. So imagine this is the creator, the quality that wants to give. We call it the root. Sometimes we call it keter. You'll see all kinds of, in Hebrew is that letter here, kaf. This is beyond that is infinity. We can't even talk about what's happening beyond that. But it wants to give all the good, a lot of goodness, plus, great, positive. So it creates the first vessel, which is called the first phase. You can call it 1, you can call it Aleph in Hebrew, right? You can call it Chokhmah in Hebrew. It's not going to be a test. You don't have to remember those names if you're totally new to the wisdom. If you've heard it before, obviously, you have a little grasp on it. And this this light fills this vessel, this quality in full. Okay, imagine light coming in, filling this empty vessel. Done. Creation was complete. The creator can go home and relax. We are eternally satisfied. We can go home and relax. That's the end of our lesson. Well, it's not the end of our lesson because clearly this is not what's happening here. What was going on is simply an action that comes from above. So the light creates the empty space. The light fills the empty space, and that system does not have an independent vessel, creature that can actually feel it, that can actually enjoy it, appreciate the pleasure and the giver of the pleasure. None of it was there. It was simply an empty space, right? A light forming an empty space, and then you have this emptiness, and this perfect form is filled perfectly by the light, right? There's no real relationship there, but that feeling of the light in the vessel made it feel close to the origin of this light, the giver. So the reaction of this vessel was immediately, I don't want to receive this light. Rather, I want to be like you. Okay, just receiving kind of mindlessly is not that interesting. I want to be like you, so I want to reject this light here. Okay, I'm going to reject it. This is called phase 2, bet in Hebrew, bina. And Bina said, I want to reject this pleasure, okay, this light. I want to be like the giver, like this quality, okay? I want this guy right here. Again, creation could have ended there, but it feels a bit incomplete, does it? And it's true, you're right. It's incomplete because the purpose of this whole process was to create a creature. Okay, let's call it a creature, right? The creator wants to, a vessel. We sometimes call it a creature that can receive all that stuff. If this is a plus, I need to create a minus, right? But that minus has to receive it and appreciate it. So Bina realizes, feels, okay, I will receive a little bit and give a little bit. So we have some relationship here. And that's already changes the quality of Bina. So Bina now receives a little bit and gives a lot, you can say. Okay. That's phase 3, Gimel in Hebrew, and that name is already more difficult. It's in Aramaic, Zeir Anpin. You probably heard it, maybe. It means small Partzuf, a small system. Okay, so already here there's a sort of a miniaturized representation of the correct relationship. Okay, the creator wants to give, I will receive a little bit, and we should be in a good relationship with each other, right? So again, this could have ended this process, but what happened is suddenly this feeling of the light inside the vessel and of the giver creates a new quality, which we call phase 4, phase Dalet in Hebrew, Dalet. And this is what we call the Malchut. And Malchut already wants to receive everything. Okay, so I want to receive the light that you had in mind. I want to receive the quality of the giver. I want everything. I want to have the desire for the light and this great yearning for the light. Okay, the desire for fulfillment, for something to satisfy me, and a great yearning for it. Because the greater the yearning, the greater the pleasure. Right? If you're just hungry and you eat something, okay, that kind of ended quickly there. But if you're hungry and you really think about it and you imagine the pleasure from the food and all the different flavors that you're going to feel and everything, the effort that goes into it and the person who made it, right? All those factors suddenly add up and make a meal much greater than what it really is, right? Because, as we said, perception of reality doesn't happen in your mouth, really. It happens in your desire. In fact, they did an experiment. Fun fact: they did an experiment with by Paul Bloom talks about it. He's a social scientist. They did an experiment with people. They stuck them They stuck them in an MRI machine, and they hooked them up to the machine to see their brain activity. And they had a tube feeding them, and they poured wine into the tube for them to taste it. And they told them, look, this wine is a cheap supermarket wine. It cost $15. Try it out. They tried it out. Flavor was not so great. This next wine is a great wine from the vineyards of France, growing on the semi-shaded side of the mountain, with bathed in morning dew and collected in the full moon, whatever. And they gave him that wine, and they tasted it, and the pleasure centers in the brain just sparked and lit up like crazy, like a Christmas tree. But then it turned out it was the same wine. It was the exact same wine. So the only thing that changed was the perception of the wine, not the actual stimulus, which kind of puts us at a great disadvantage as far as reality. But again, we're not going to get into that. So just to finish this explanation, because it is important. What happened here is that this final discernment, the final phase, which we call Malchut, that's the first time where you had an independent creature, if you will, that tasted the light, then tasted what it's like without a light, then wanted the light by itself. Because that first discernment, it didn't have a concept of what is light, no light. There's nothing there. It's only after this process that now this Malchut has a perception of, I understand what is the source of pleasure. I know how to be satisfied. I want all these flavors. I want them by myself, for myself. I want to have them, not because you sort of created me and then put those in me, but I decided I wanted. After I tasted it and it was outside of me, and now I want it. That simple exchange, that 4 phases of exchange between light and vessel, is the blueprint for all of creation. All of the pleasures in life really kind of go through the same relationship with their containers. And we perceive reality in this way on many, many levels. But the important thing is that this is the first time that there was a vessel here involved in this, an independent creature. And what we call a vessel. Again, this is not a real picture of a vessel. It's just a nice picture made by AI of a vessel. But no, I mean, it has that shape of a vessel that we refer to is apropos, because it's able to receive, right, the light. And if I have this emptiness that can receive something, and this great yearning that's being fed by the prospect of feeling that pleasure and the giver of the pleasure and all of that, this creates a great desire for all this pleasure. The problem is that there is one small issue that the creature did not take into consideration, and that is that there's a disparity of form between the vessel, right, and the creator. So on the one hand, you could say, yes, the creator wanted to, create a vessel that can receive all the pleasure, right? It created you. We're not talking about you yet. We're talking about the root of you, the spiritual root of you. But if you equate it to yourself, right? You have a desire for something. You didn't come up with that desire. Maybe you grew that desire. We can talk about that later as well. Or it grew in you. But the fact of the matter is that you have a desire for food, sex, family, money, honor, power, knowledge. You have all these desires in you. You're not the master of those desires, but you sure as hell are going to pursue them until you feel satisfied. Otherwise, it kind of feels annoying or just plain dissatisfying. So the creator had this whole thing planned. However, he planted a little bug in the system, a little error. Not the first one, you'll see. There were many such bugs with a purpose. And that is the instant that Malchut, that fourth phase, that vessel, that potential creature, felt all this light fulfilling him, it also felt something else. It felt that it's exactly the exact opposite from the creator. So that quality of giving, of bestowal, of love that just wants to give, it felt itself the exact opposite. It couldn't even think of that giver, of the creator who created it, because it was so filled with the pleasure of this light. It really ate him from within, that quality. So again, we're using human terms, this shame and guilt and all that, but those have a very high spiritual root. This feeling that I cannot just simply receive everything without any accountability to the giver. And that created a reaction, a very strong reaction in the receiver. And that reaction we call it restriction. Tzimtzum in Hebrew. Restriction. So that the vessel said, I am not going to receive it. Let's start fresh. Let me just not receive all this pleasure until I can figure out how to receive it while still maintaining some relationship to you. And this is the key thing here, because the creator didn't just want to create something that can receive all the pleasure. You can just create it's like you creating a vase and filling it with water. End of story. Do you feel great pleasure from this vase being filled with water? Does the vase feel the pleasure of the water filling it? Small pleasure, probably, right? On the level of the vase. But there's no relationship here. There's no that. This stuff is what makes the whole thing worthwhile. When you have a baby, a child, it's the acknowledgement that you are giving them and they're receiving that, and then they're interacting and they want from you things, and you're giving them. We can see that example in nature to some extent. That's what the creator was after. Not this mindless, here's a deficiency, here's a lack, here's an empty space, and here's some fulfillment, and goodbye. No. Right? It wants this. But to have this, there has to be a restriction, and there has to be something new called the Partzuf, which is a way for the vessel to receive the light while maintaining control of the situation. I'm receiving a little bit because I want to acknowledge you. I want to give you the pleasure, right? You really want to fulfill me with everything, with light. I'm going to receive some of that light, so you will feel pleasure. Suddenly we become almost equals, because you will not be able to kind of complete your action of giving unless I'm receiving. And I will only receive and enjoy this pleasure in order to give you pleasure. So suddenly there's these two forces trying to do everything in their power to please each other. This relational thing, which we learn in Kabbalah, in study of 10 Sfirot, in the preface to the wisdom of Kabbalah, the mechanics of the wisdom talk about that interaction. And without the mechanics of it, you feel it every day. Because when you receive something from someone, when you really acknowledge that there's someone there giving you and you're receiving from them, doesn't matter what it is. It matters more probably with someone that's close to you, someone that you want to be in a relationship with. When that happens, suddenly there's a greater sensation that is weaved between you. It's no longer just about, hey, honey, I made you a sandwich. Oh, great. I love fill in the blank sandwich. No, it's, I know what you like because I've been observing you, we've been talking about it, and I made you the thing that you love most. And you say, wow, I really appreciate it. You really do know me so well, and you want to give me all that I love. Yes, can you feel it? Yeah, I can feel it. Right? That exchange is the beginning. It's the beginning of the clue to what will make us satisfied. But it doesn't end there. What happened was the creator placed another bug in the system. And that bug caused the Partzuf, the vessel, Partzuf means face in Hebrew, or a spiritual system that can receive in order to bestow. That bug, that error, made the Partzuf receive more than it can handle. It happened to you? Did it happen to you before? I don't know if maybe you can send the chat. Did it happen that you wanted something and you got so much of it that you really you kind of couldn't handle your liquor, so to speak, right? We know with alcohol, with money, right? Sweets sometimes, all those kind of pleasures, right? Intense pleasures that can, and for different people it could be different things. I mean, some people can get that thing from just reading great books, from power, from honor. It doesn't matter. The point is, if you lose the ability to receive in order to acknowledge the giver, that's when stuff goes awry. And it went awry for this Partzuf to the point that it broke. Now, understand all of this, everything I just described to you, precedes our corporeal, three-dimensional space-time continuum. This happens on a whole other dimension, if you will. We're not going to get into where, what, how. It's there, it's always there, but this is sort of the blueprint for our experience here on this corporeal level. And that shattering, that light that entered the vessel into the place in the vessel that where it couldn't receive it with the right intention, that light shattered the vessel, and the result of that was a shattering of that state, of that connection with the Creator. And the corporeal expression of that, or rather the distance, not physical distance, but the distance in qualities between the Creator, the giver, and the receiving vessel was so great that it fell into a whole other dimension, if you will. The three-dimensional space-time continuum. Okay, suddenly this vessel shattered into a huge number of pieces, 600,000 pieces, it doesn't matter. It's a quality of that shattering, the perception of a one unified vessel shattered. And we ended up with the Big Bang, space and time, the evolution of matter, 14 billion years, our world. And on our world, evolution of inanimate matter, vegetative matter, animate matter, animals, right, and humans, and the evolution of that, all of that coming together to form you. And you are standing there in this world trying to figure out what to do with this life. How do I get myself satisfied? When you can't, because there's a problem with life. Because life is, again, has another bug in it. The same bug that existed in the system of the upper worlds, as we call it. It was there for a reason. It was there so we'll be able to actually receive everything. Without getting into the mechanics of it, the reason why everything was shattered was precisely so that the vessel can receive everything. Not only a limited quantity of light and that's it. Because, actually going back, creation could have ended here. See, there's this evolution of the Partzufim, of the vessel, And this is the end of it. Again, without getting into the mechanics. If you're interested in the mechanics, we have courses for that. But without getting into the specifics, that was the end of the process. All this part below here, below this line, remains empty. But the Creator wanted to give you everything, infinite pleasure, full satisfaction, guaranteed, with an infinite warranty. Not this partial, tiny bit of light that you can receive. So this state that we're in, this life, is designed to be flawed from the get-go. You're designed to not be satisfied in this life. I know it sounds harsh. And again, it doesn't mean that every single human being is going to experience it at the same time, in the same lifetime. No. But if you're experiencing it, it means that you already have that question in you, right? Like, what is life for? Questions, right? Like, you're asking this question. So the reason why am I not satisfied with life is really another question of what is this life for? We don't like to think about it in these terms sometimes because it sounds too big and maybe there are no answers, and why would I ask an unanswerable question? But if Kabbalists told you there is an answer, then suddenly maybe it's worth having those doubts. Like, is life real? Is this perception of me pursuing these desires, trying to fulfill myself, is this real? Is this really happening? And maybe the fact that you're having these questions is actually a blessing in disguise. Not disguise at all, actually. It's plainly visible that if you're not able to satisfy yourself with all the abundance that exists in nature, and there is plenty of it to go around, I guarantee it, it's not for lack of substance. It's something about the mechanism that's not working. So if you're willing to dive a little deeper, you really are asking yourself, why am I alive? That is the question. It's not simply a question of why am I not satisfied when I have a home and a job and a car and, frankly, amenities that are better than any of the kings that rule the earth up to maybe 150 years ago. You probably have a better life, even if you live on the bottom of the social strata. You're probably doing fairly well if you're able to connect to this lesson over the internet, on a computer, or on your phone, and you're watching this and you're contemplating this and you're not tied to a plow somewhere, right? You're doing pretty well, and yet you're not satisfied. And it's exactly there, planted for that reason. So you'll be able to ask, why? What is this thing all about? And my answer for you is, first of all, to just relax and slow down and take a deep breath, because you're in the right place. Kabbalists are those people who ask that question. From the dawn of mankind, there was always a small group asking that question, when the rest of people were just pursuing their beastly desires for food, sex, family, and later more advanced desires for money and honor and a place on the board of directors and a retirement plan and all those other comforts of life. They were not satisfied. Long before you were not satisfied, they were not satisfied. You come from a long lineage of dissatisfied people. And that's a great thing about Kabbalists. It's those people who are willing to face their dissatisfaction and ask, where's it going? And so if I'm the same vessel looking for fulfillment as that original vessel that was created. So the question is really like, how do I become satisfied? And I promised that we'll get to that, but before that I will take a few questions. So let me see. So John is asking, and you can send those in the chat and they'll get to me. So John is asking, what about the Ein Sof and the infinite light? Well, that's an advanced question. I'll just say that, yes, there is infinite light. We are surrounded by infinite light, but your vessel is not able to receive all that light. And that's one of the issues. Hold on. Maybe I'll... okay. So, that's one of the issues, right? We do have this vessel, But the problem is, every time the light comes into this vessel, this big plus comes in, it meets with this big minus that we have, and the result here is this big clash. Like a short circuit. If you try to just put like a, two open wires together, it doesn't go well. You need something in the middle. You need a resistance. And that resistance, we call it a screen in the wisdom of Kabbalah. So if this is the vessel, or kli in Hebrew, this will be the screen, the cover. That's how the Partzuf was able to receive this light. So this is the light, direct light, nonetheless, right? Like a direct current, it just comes in. You have a screen, and the screen is able to work with all that deficiency that you have here. You have this this emptiness, this desire for whatever it is, food, sex, and different levels of desires, right? Just like the original vessel. All right, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Actually, yeah, like 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, depth of desire. And if you have a screen, if you're able to have that, that quality, the screen will allow you to receive some of the light, will be able to make the calculation and reject some of the other light in order to keep the connection with the giver, right? And that mechanism, which happens here, that mechanism here, we call it a rosh. We call it a rosh, or in English, a head. So up until you have that head, up until you have that part of the system, you're looking at life like an animal, right? Just looking for satisfaction. That's the body. Just like animals are, right? The body of the animal. The animal, right? And the body are on the same level. Right? Same level. There is no real calculation here. There's simply, I have a deficiency and I see some fulfillment and I go for it. I'm satisfied. Animals are satisfied. Humans can be happy. That's a totally different level of satisfaction we're talking about. Satisfied is just I have a desire that it's filled, done. I have a desire for ice cream. I eat ice cream, I'm satisfied. No, happy is when I know where this whole ice cream even came from. Who gave all this? Who provided all of this, right? Who and why did they create all of that? Okay, that's a much deeper sense of satisfaction. And it's the same even with the basic desires for food, right? Knowing who made the food for you, who made that ice cream, how they made it, what materials, where they came from. What are all those details? Why do we need all those details? Because that's the difference between a human and an animal. An animal only has like this fulfillment and a desire, and that's it. Satisfied, done. We have a more refined mechanism. We need a head in order to make this this calculation here, and the head is what separates the animal, and the human. Is what can make calculations for us. And so even though you can only receive some of the light here when you make the calculation, maybe, it doesn't matter. All the light is there for you. It's called surrounding light, and it exists around the Partzuf, around the vessel, waiting for you until you have a stronger and stronger screen or intention. Oh, time's running. Okay. Taught by Emerald, nice name. Is this an example of deficiency not having vessels for Ein Sof of infinite light? Yes, so again, everything is, you're simply a shattered vessel. I should probably have, so from this one vessel that existed here in the upper worlds, right? how we draw it somewhere here in the upper world. It's not going to get too much into it, but here this is the spiritual. You can find all those drawings, all that in all the courses that we're giving, all the fundamentals, but I just want to give the foundation. When the shattering happened, that vessel shattered into, again, I'm using physical term, into, right, as if there's a place where it fell into. No, it fell from the perception of one united vessel into the perception. This is all of it happens in your perception. Okay, remember we touched on perception of reality, perception. So all of this is happening in your perception. So in your perception, from one unified vessel that is in contact with the Creator, right, with the upper light here, into many, many, many small vessels, each one having a memory of this upper light, of filling the vessel, but a reality of this tiny dissatisfied vessel. So could you clarify the relationship? Actually, I need to know if I should read from below up. I'm going to just jump zigzag down here just to make sure. Johnny Joseph, isn't satisfaction an ongoing process, so I have to keep achieving to feel satisfied? Some people believe it's a continuous process. You're right. To some extent, satisfaction on the level of this world is an ongoing process. Why is that? Let's go back to our trusted board. Why? Because there's a rule in spirituality that the pleasure extinguishes the desire. However, whatever you taste, when that pleasure leaves you, that satisfaction leaves you, it leaves you wanting twice as much. There's a Hebrew saying for that. Okay, meaning if you think about it in this way. You made your first $1,000, let's say, when you just, before college, you had a job and you saved up and you made your first $1,000. It was like, whoa, you couldn't imagine, right? You're just like a little kid. Actually, I'm not going to drum. Let's talk about it. You were just a little kid under your the umbrella of your parents, and you're all dependent on it. Suddenly you have money, your own thing, right? Your power to buy, to do things, some freedom, right? But after that, the next $1,000 wasn't as exciting. But when you made $2,000, that was already like an improvement. And again, $4,000, $8,000. You see how this is kind of endless. Now, if the desire was finite, you could say, well, I'm just gonna fulfill my, for each one of those buckets, right? Food, sex, family, money, honor, power, knowledge. Imagine there's like a little bucket above each one. Maybe each one is bigger. Maybe, I don't know. Different buckets, right? And you just say, okay, I'm just gonna fill the bucket, and then I'll be satisfied. And I know now I can. Here, it's full. Now I can die a happy man. But it's not the case. It says a person doesn't leave this world. A person leaves this world with half of his desire satisfied, right? That's the Hebrew saying. Why is it? Because the Creator is infinite light. He wants an infinite vessel. He's not concerned with fulfilling you with these little puny, pleasures of life. So the will to receive, the desire that was created, I don't know if I call it the will or desire to receive, is constantly growing. It's a constantly evolving, right? Here, time, and this is the desire. It's growing exponentially. What used to satisfy your great-grandfather looks like trifles to you. I just saw a clip on somewhere. Someone said, well, it used to be a miracle for me is normal for you. There's like some YouTube clip running with that, or something, Instagram reel, right? Some father saying to his son, it was a miracle to me. It was like, oh, get in the car, drive to the whatever, the movies. For you, it's like normal, right? Make a phone call out of the house, a miracle. For you, it's like whatever. Because the desire is growing. And it's meant to grow. Nature is pushing us to grow. And as we grow, we perceive our separateness more and more. And we perceive our helplessness in getting fulfillment. And I want to give you, we have a few minutes, I want to give you, we're going to take all these questions that we didn't answer today here. I'm going to take them into the Zoom. So please join us in the Zoom session. More intimate, not going to be live broadcast, but I'm going to answer all the questions. Let's see. Did the vessel first become physical when it descended into Malchut? So that's just a technical question. The sensation of physical reality only existed after the shattering. Okay, it's a state that is felt in the vessel. It's a feeling. Okay, we're feeling creatures. The desire is a feeling mechanism that is behind our brain. Okay, that's what comes before the brain. I'm not going to get into all perception of reality thing, but that's what it is. So the perception of physical reality is a result of our broken state, and then the brain and the senses developed in order to make the most out of that state, get the fulfillment out of that state, right? Please, can you clarify a bit more why Zeir Anpin degraded to Malchut? Because it all seemed right in that phase. Right. You're right, Milosh. Like I said, it is. However, because of the feeling of the light and of the giver, Malchut Zeir Anpin was very close to the giver. It wasn't able to only receive a little bit. It could not receive just a little bit and give a lot. It was simply impossible for it to resist that pleasure. And that's what that again, when we talk about those states in Kabbalah, it's important to understand all those phases that we let's see, previous all those phases. When we talk about these things, we break them down so it's easy for us, but it's all one thing. It's all one vessel. It's all changing states. It's like you, right? You yesterday, you today, you tomorrow. It's the same you, right? Across time, you can see different states of you. And this is the same way for us. It's easy to talk about it in this way. So it's all happening in this one vessel that was created. But this vessel the light is like inflating it, is growing it, growing it until again it becomes infinite desire to receive infinite light. I can't just receive some of the light. I will feel deficient. I want all of it. All the light that you can give me, plus the feeling of the giver. I want all of it. So it could not have stayed in Zeir Anpin. And the real reason is the creator didn't want to leave it in Zeir Anpin. He wanted an independent creature. And Zeir Anpin was not independent. Zeir Anpin was still a reaction to the light. That's why it's called 4 phases of direct light. It's the light doing all the work. And the creator needed the creature to do it. Now, I promised you some resolution. I don't have a pretty slide for that, so just listen up. The wisdom of Kabbalah talks about exactly, it comes from the word to receive. So it explains how to receive pleasure in a way that is not going to feel, that's not going to extinguish the desire, not going to feel temporary, not going to make me have to go and feel half as satisfied and then go pursue additional fulfillment, right? Chase a bigger paycheck or a bigger car or a bigger house or a better looking spouse or whatever it is, right? The next best thing, because I'm not comfortable, I'm not satisfied with what I have. You're supposed to feel unsatisfied. You're supposed to live a normal life in this world, on the level of this world, right? Normal. Whatever you are accustomed to eat and the house and whatever. Normal conditions, okay? Normal. You don't need a lot of regulations in order to imagine what is normal for you, okay? There are other forces at play here, but we're not going to get into them. But imagine living a normal life and instead developing the ability, developing the sense that connects you to the Creator, the source of all this abundance, that force of giving, not some religious creator, God, deity, no, none of that. A quality of giving, an infinite abundance, right? It's an infinite field of potential. Imagine having the vessel that can receive that and it's receiving it in order to give it to the creator. I'll leave you with one last drawing. This is the creator. This is the creator right here, right? And it's giving you, and between you and the creator is this whole world. Basically, oh, you're not seeing what I'm doing. Here it is. So this is the creator world, and this is me. As long as I try to just receive for myself, I have a tiny vessel here. I will always feel deficient, dissatisfied. It's nothing compared to the infinity the Creator wants to give. Nothing, right? That vessel is limited. The way for me to receive that vessel, and this is what the wisdom of Kabbalah explains, to receive that pleasure, that sense of ongoing satisfaction, which some of you kind of were onto, is to receive this light, let's say like that, and receive it in order to then bestow it back to the Creator through the rest of the world. It's big. There's a methodology for it. You don't go to the rest of the world right away. You start with a small group. But this is the process. This will create an ongoing infinite loop of bestowal from you, from the Creator to you, from you to the Creator. And you'll find out in the process, you'll discover your soul. You'll discover your soul. No, come on. Your soul. And you'll discover that your soul is really achieved here in the connection between all these other vessels. That's your soul, not that little tiny thing here. Not this. This is not your soul. It's right here. And there is nothing but you and the Creator and this relationship between you. But it's just grander, richer than anything you can imagine. And that is why you're never satisfied with your life. I know it was big picture, but I hope it gave you something to think about. If you're just starting out on this path, I encourage you go to the websites. The support team will put it there. Do the fundamentals. Start to understand where you are, the system you're in. You can't give it in 45 minutes. It's just impossible. You need to learn about your place in the system and gradually understand how to develop those vessels that you need. A bigger vessel to receive and the correct intention, the screen to work with. All of that is taught by the wisdom of Kabbalah, and it's just that in itself is thoroughly, wholly satisfying. So I really recommend, and I'll see you, whoever can make it, to our on our special Zoom. It was a pleasure. Thank you so much. I'm Leo, by the way, and I really enjoyed it. I hope you did too, and I'll see you next time on Kabbalah Explained Simply.